And of course, I start off muted. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here for the second episode of Skeptical Robot. Uh, Man, gonna have to really keep my eye on that one. Thank you so much. It really means a lot to me that everybody's here. And let me go ahead and bring in my guest. You know him as the vampire killer, ear of corn, Corndiff. How you doing today, buddy?
Man, doing great. Glad to be here. How are you?
Hey, I am so glad to have you here. And please
Yeah.
keep up with those reminders of telling me to click the unmute button because
It's
I
a
don't seem to be very good at it.
it's our bit at this point. I like
Yeah,
it.
I like it. Yeah. All right.
Oh yeah.
At some point, I'm just gonna make an ass of myself and do like a full hour. No one's gonna tell me. I just see it coming. uh, all right, man. So let's get into it. Uh, let's see here. So tell me, how much do you remember from last episode?
Oh man, they I wow, I we met the Lutzes. We found
I'm not
out.
gonna make you. I'm not gonna make you go through the whole thing. Don't worry about
Yeah.
it.
No.
Okay, so let's actually. I made some trading cards. I don't know if you saw them. I posted these on Twitter, just to kind of keep the story a little fresh in everyone's head. And hold on just a second here. I'm gonna actually become good at this one day. And here we go. Let's take a look at these. Just as a reminder of everything that happened on the first episode, here is my little trading card collection.
Cannot.
Can you hear us now?
Hang on, I've got the volume turned all the way up here.
Cannot.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear us now?
Now we can.
Oh, well, shit.
Start from the beginning.
Man, all right. I did not know that doing that was going to cut out our audio. Fuck me.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
All right, let's try this again. Man, I am sorry. Folks, please just know that I'm a rookie.
Blame the
I
corn.
am sorry.
Blame the corn.
All right. Yeah, it's all his fault. Okay, let me try this again. Man, I am so sorry, folks.
We're learning.
We fuck, we covered a lot.
Now I feel like I'm better prepared for the first 10 minutes.
Okay, so then here we go. Let's try this again, folks. This is all going to be an effort to just kind of catch everyone up, let everyone remind everyone of the characters that we are going to be talking about, and also, Delta, thank you very much to let me know that my mic sounds better. I was very embarrassed with the first episode, and now I just fucking embarrassed myself again by muting myself for a solid. What were we on there for? Like fucking 5 minutes? Fuck. Oh, Jesus. Anyway,
It really puts me at ease, though, as the guest. Like I was like, man, if he asked me to do a recap again of last episode, I don't know what I blank, but I feel better now.
Oh, God. All right. Well, we talked a lot. Okay, so here's the thing. We were going to go through some of these cards just to remind everyone about what happened in the first episode and to let everyone know where we're going to be jumping off into this next episode. This next episode is going to get a little weird. It's going to be a little dense, and I am really going to apologize a little bit for how deep it's going to go, but it's all going to be important because it's just an interesting story and it needs a little bit of context. So all that to say, let's start talking about the characters. And one thing I did mention while I was muted is that I have decided that for members only, we are going to hold a members only live chat after we get through the Amityville story, just to invite everyone to get into one place for us all to discuss it. If there's any questions, if there's any kind of conversations that people might want to have about it. And also I'm going to play some B-roll and some videos that I couldn't really quite fit into the story. And one of them is Ronald DeFeo telling his grandfather that after 6 months of being in prison, he decided being gay was really fun. So here we go. Let's get started. This is the house. This is the first trading card I made. And even though the murders probably are a better place to start, I still feel like I need to establish that this is the house. Let's see. Here we go.
Now, was it always 112 Ocean Avenue?
Oh, hey, that's a great question, Corndiff. Thank you. No, it was 112 Ocean Avenue, and it is not 112 Ocean Avenue anymore. Because people got fed up with nomads camping out on the lawn. Let's see, and I don't know what the new address is. Anyway, so it's allegedly haunted by dead Indians, pigs, and dirty toilets. Thank you, Hackride. Big thank you to Hackride for helping me with my audio. Love that guy. He's great. Man, I just did not want to fuck up again with my audio. But God damn it, I already did. Anyway. So this is the house, like we talked about. It is possibly haunted, depending on where you lean. But the whole purpose of this show is to discuss how it probably isn't. So I'm not going to ask you, Corndiff, where you lean quite yet. But there's plenty of story more to go to sway you one way or the other. So,
all right.
Let's see here. Next, we have Mr. Ronnie DeFeo. Ronald DeFeo murdered all 6 members of his immediate family when he was 23 years old. We've learned that he is not a reliable narrator. He is willing to tell any story for the chance of parole. And if you guys remember, we talked about how he has changed his story at least 10 times and probably even closer to 20 with several unofficial stories. Those have included the mob, They've included his sister killing the family. They included his mother killing the family. That was actually one of his stories. He said his mother killed the family, and he just killed his mother in self-defense. Another one was that he was doing drugs, didn't remember anything. Another one was that he was hearing voices. They've gone all over the place. So what we can say is that he's not very reliable.
Oh. Now, what's this last fact?
This last fact is some video I'm going to be playing for members only. That he sent his father a letter, or his grandfather a letter, telling him how he's decided he wants to be gay and describes in detail how he learned it. I actually don't have all the details. There's only a very brief picture of the letter, but we get a narration of him saying, I'm gay now, and here's how I found out.
Wonder how long it took him to learn he enjoyed.
Hey, Grandpa, guess what? It took him less than 6 months.
Oh.
And, yeah.
He made friends quick.
Let's see here. And that's one of the best parts of the story. And I just wish I knew a good place to fit that story in. But whatever. All right. So I think this is right about when we got caught with our pants down with the audio. So now it's all new.
Oh.
All right. So George Lutz, one of the owners that bought the house after the murders. It was about 13 months after the murders happened. And we haven't quite decided exactly where he lies in terms of knowing anything about what they call the occult and paranormal. Not exactly sure where he stands, but he got caught in a couple of lies and got caught in doing some performative work for the vampire hunter, Mr. Stephen Kaplan. And he's going to show back up. Don't worry about him. He's going to be a big part of this story as it goes on. Saw animal footprints in snow when there was no snow. He does not trust vampire hunters. You, Corndiff, you and George Lutz would not agree on that. And he blames ghosts for dirty toilets in the house. So, and one of the things I also want to remind everyone of is that one of the things we came up with was that even though they tried to perpetuate this hoax, they weren't good at it. There's a reason why some criminals distinguish themselves as professional criminals, because they're just better at being criminals. These people were not good at coming up with a good haunting. A lot of the stuff they just borrowed from The Exorcist, and then a lot of it just didn't make sense. There were flies and goos and dirty toilets, and a dog tried to hang itself. Apparently, it made its own noose with its own thumbless fingers and tried to commit suicide. But whatever. Hey, man.
Determined.
We'll see how far that story goes. Not a fan of levitating without consent. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. Does not appreciate when ghosts leave messy toilets. And when she smells perfume in the house, which was one of the things they attributed to ghosts, she doesn't think to blame her husband. She thinks to blame ghosts, which I just kind of thought was a really funny thing. And even they both acknowledge it. Yeah, she smelled perfume in the house. Ghost, right?
Convenient.
Yeah. And then next we have William Weber. William Weber is a scumbag in every sense of the word. Can you think of a better word, Corndiff? Because I can't.
Greaseball.
Well, all right. That works too. I don't know if it was supposed to be racist, but whatever.
Wait, is that a thing?
I'm joking.
Oh, I hope not.
Ronald DeFeo Jr.'s lawyer and had a literary agent and proposed a collaborative book deal with George and Kathy Lutz. The book deal included a 5% share of the profits for Ronald DeFeo Jr. Now, this is kind of where the stories diverge, and we're not really sure what's real, but they do seem to agree on the story up to this point. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And our next character is going to be Laura DiDio. At the time, she was a 19-year-old intern at Channel 5 in Amityville after the Lutzes gave the press conference at William Weber's office. She introduced the Lutzes to Ed and Lorraine Warren. Corndiff, you want to give us a little bit of a story on Ed and Lorraine Warren? It could be as brief or as long as you want.
They wrangled that Annabelle doll.
Hey, that's good enough. Great. Perfect. Because that actually is going to lead me into my next card. Can't believe you said that one. Man, your jumping off points are great.
Thank you.
I said it last time. You really are good. So she introduces the Lutzes to Ed and Lorraine Warren. That's perfect. See, so here's the funny thing and why I like to distinguish Laura DiDio as a character to the story, even though she doesn't play as big of a part as everyone else. She's the only person in this story so far, anyways, that has not proven to be a lying, malicious piece of garbage. She could be maybe a little gullible, maybe a little naive, but she really does not seem to have any sort of ill will, or she's not trying to screw anybody. Can't say that for everybody, you know?
No self-motivated agendas or anything.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, if this spoils it, I'm sorry. I don't know that ever changes. She kind of sticks with her story the entire time, where she just says, here's what I saw. You make of it whatever you want. But I believe something weird happened, but I don't know what it was. And that's a good enough answer for me anyway, you know? So Ed Warren, self-taught demonologist. What does that mean? I don't even know what the fuck that means.
You got to have a certificate in that line of work. You can't just do that shit self-taught.
You know what? I knew a guy who went to DeVry who got a demonologist certificate.
That'll count. Yeah, that'll work. DeVry, they're accredited. Accredited? Yeah.
And let's see, paranormal investigator and painter. Did you know he was a painter?
Did not.
Puppet enthusiast, Annabelle. There you go. I find it funny that the actor that plays him in the Conjuring movies is thinner and substantially more handsome than he is. Because he just kind of looks like a frog.
Yeah, it's not quite Hollywood ready.
No, and look at that hair. That's like a baby's hair. Anyway, so spoiler alert, we're not going to get to it anytime soon. It's going to be a little while away, but it's in a plan. But he has some disturbing skeletons in his closet.
Uh-oh.
Crazy shit, man. Like, not only was he a scumbag stealing money, he was a scumbag in other ways. So that leads us to his wife, Lorraine Warren, the medium. She's half of the paranormal investigation duo with her and her husband. They're a lot like the Scooby-Doo mystery team.
She's the talent, though. Let's be honest.
That's true. She's the face. The face.
Yeah, and I mean, if she's the medium, I mean, that's. Like
He's the large. Ayo.
Hey.
Oh, that's good. Perfect. I don't have any sound effects. So one thing in here is one of her infamous lines that she says that I seriously hate so much, which is New York is as close to hell as she ever wants to get. It's such a terrible fucking line. We're going to hear it about 3 times tonight, and I just hate it so much. Because it just doesn't make logical sense when it comes to the English language. But
sounds like she just had a really bad time in New York.
Yeah, well, it's funny. No, what she actually says is that the house is as close to hell as she ever wants to get. But it makes no logical sense. That's not making a statement. I could say that Florida is as close to hell as I want to get. Doesn't mean you're actually close or near it. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm as close to Saturn as I want to get. Anyway, it's an open-ended dumb statement that doesn't make any sort of statement or conclusion, but I think that was kind of their life, was making statements like that. But so she's very proud to brag that she sold her life story to Warner Brothers. We're going to see some video of that tonight. And also, spoiler alert, she has some very gross skeletons in her closet too.
Oh man.
Yeah, these were horrible people. One card that's missing. Wait. Oh, did I just put it last? Shit. I might have fucked that up. Oh, boy. Well, the other big character is Stephen Kaplan, the vampire hunter. Possibly the inspiration for Wesley Snipes' Blade character. We don't know. I mean, you can only speculate on that sort of thing. But do you remember the story with Stephen Kaplan? What made him a part of the story?
He was gonna do. Oh yeah, the Lutz dude reached out to him to check the house out for him or something like that, or do his own kind of investigation and yeah, he's the vampire hunter. Yeah, I remember him.
Yep. So George Lutz reaches out to Stephen Kaplan after an article that he reads, and he says, "Would you mind taking a look at this house and doing your paranormal investigating?" Sorry, there's a chat that just totally distracted me.
Is it the butt one?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I was reading it. What the fuck is this, man?
It was not expecting that, but hey, man, I love it. This is what we're here for. It totally distracted me.
Whoop, whoop.
So he hires Stephen Kaplan, and according to the stories that we hear, he starts making some weird buzzword, word salad statements to Stephen Kaplan that Stephen Kaplan doesn't like, and starts to inquire, where'd you hear this?
Yeah.
And some of the things he talked about were demons. He starts naming demons' names, and he says, I know that this demon lives there.
Like he's kind of putting the cart before the horse.
Exactly. And, you know, I think one avenue that we didn't really talk much about, I tried to hint at it, but I just wasn't feeling very articulate, was that made Stephen Kaplan suspicious of George Lutz's intentions, or I'm sorry, of you know, faking everything and this being a hoax.
Yeah.
But one thing that we didn't talk about was why George Lutz was saying it. And I mentioned it a little bit, and I think the word I was really missing was manipulate. I think there's a theory that George Lutz was possibly trying to manipulate Stephen Kaplan. He was trying to actually plant some ideas.
Some a little NLP.
Seed,
yeah.
A little seed in his head, and hoping that Stephen Kaplan would take it, run with it, in order to, you know, confirm or validate George Lutz's claims. Now, the reason I say that isn't because I'm smart at all. It's because it's what we're actually going to see in other investigators that that investigated the house. You plant this tiny little seed, and they run with it. It's also kind of something you'll see with psychics, which we'll eventually get to as well. They'll take anything and they'll just run with it. So you always have to watch what you say beforehand with a psychic. So anyway,
John Edwards.
Yeah, he's the worst. You know, if you see his show live, he makes you sign an NDA. You know
yeah. I saw Penn and Teller on that shit.
Hey, that's my favorite show. That is my favorite show.
Oh yeah.
So, all right. So I think that brings us up to date, and we're gonna jump off from here. Now, one thing that we didn't talk a lot about, because I was really just trying to establish the story a little bit and give an overview, is what happened at the, or I'm sorry, what do the Lutzes claim happened at the house? We don't know, or at least we didn't cover it. And there's a lot of things. There's a lot of weird things, and their story has changed several times. But let's just get a little bit of an overview of what they claim happened at the house that caused them to leave after only 28 days.
I heard there's Indians.
We're going to get to the Indians. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we will get to the Indians. It's going to be actually the last part of the show, or at least later part of the show. But yes, there's going to
I'll be patient.
All right, so here we go.
George Lutz then says that a good friend who knew the history of the house strongly advised him to have it blessed.
The priest came and went about the house blessing and came out and told Kathy and I not to use the one upstairs bedroom we were going to use as a sewing room as a bedroom. He said he felt something in there. And he was slapped. He heard a voice tell him to get out. Those were two things that were immediate first few hours.
Within the first few days, George Lutz claims he found himself waking regularly at 3:15 in the morning, feeling restless, uneasy, and often hearing strange noises. Significantly, this was the time when the DeFeo murders were estimated to have taken place.
I got very sick in the house and lost a lot of weight, lost days at work. My own personal hygiene changed there.
So one thing I want to, here we go. I got to figure out how to move these better. One thing I want to point out there is that what he's claiming doesn't necessarily seem like you can attribute it to ghosts. He says my hygiene changed. What do you say to that? Like, that's just kind of a weird thing to say. I don't get it. But
oh fuck, I was muted that time.
Oh, all right. So after every time we're going to say mute, like one of us to say it real loud.
Wow. Yeah, we're gonna have to. I guess he was trying to say that, or imply that the spirits were affecting him so much that he was losing weight or in poor health.
Maybe, right? But you're absolutely right. He's implying it. He's not saying it. I don't really know exactly what he's trying to say. Hey, when I got there, man, I stunk. I stunk real bad, and I stopped cleaning myself, and I didn't want to clean myself. So, ghosts, am I right?
Maybe he was consciously keeping it vague so he can keep certain doors open for future stories.
That is essentially, what I think is happening. And just part of identifying when someone's lying, they do stuff like this. Oh, there were so many crazy, weird things. It was cold, like I don't know, man. It's weak. It seems just so
in December in New York. It was cold.
In December in North New York. Oh, yeah. I don't know. But it's so weird. But it's also like all these things of he's saying that he's in control of. I just kept chopping wood. I just kept chopping wood. Well, all right. What does that have to do with anything?
You were in the zone. Yeah.
Yeah. My point is going back to these people just didn't. They didn't seem to know what they were doing. They just weren't very good at it. But anyway, all right. Well, let's go back to it.
He was undergoing personality changes. He would snap at the family. He and Kathy were having arguments. He could not get warm. He was constantly outside chopping wood, building fires. Kathy would go to different rooms in the house and feel different things.
She was embraced by what she felt was someone, a woman.
Mute.
Unmute.
I tried to unmute you. That's funny. I could mute you, but I can't unmute you. Anyway, all right. So let's just talk about that real quick. Just because I want us to start taking a tally of every story that every person tells about what's in the house, because we're going to notice everyone has a different interpretation. Everyone has a very different story, but I just want us to keep track of it instead of us just simply saying, wasn't it different? Yes. So this is the one main thing that you're going to see different among every person. Okay. So he just says that there was a voice or a voice of a woman, or a woman touched his wife.
And I've never heard that part of their story. So that's new to me.
So, it's funny. I did notice that there are actually some parts of the story that they don't even mention in documentaries. Like, I think, if I remember correctly, in the book, there's also a porcelain statue of a lion that they claim would bite them. Yeah, I mean, it's some bizarre bonkers shit. Yeah, it's so fucking weird. All right, so this is going to actually click over real quick to a different documentary where I just thought someone summed it up better than the rest. So we're going to hear a different voice, but you'll see what I mean.
One night, he saw his 5-year-old daughter Missy standing by her bedroom window, with the outline of a pig's face with red eyes behind her. He quickly ran inside her room, only to find his daughter sound asleep. Shortly thereafter, Missy began speaking of a new friend she was playing with, a pig named Jody. In another chilling instance, George looked down at his wife Kathy while she was sleeping and saw her face had changed and seemingly aged her as if she was a 90-year-old woman. Apparently, part of the house's effect on Kathy was that she would go through periods where she aged unnaturally fast and appeared to be another person altogether. This was reportedly also witnessed by her mother. Strange things continued to happen, such as doors ripped off hinges, a room full of flies in the middle of winter, cloven hoofprints in the snow just outside their doors, green slime oozing on the walls, and the discovery of a secret room in the basement that was nowhere on the house's original blueprint. This room was painted blood red, and was only big enough for 2 people to sit intimately close. It also gave off an intermittent odor.
A tiny little smelly blood red room.
It gave off an odor. Can you imagine a tiny little room in a basement might smell musty?
It's unheard of.
Ghosts. So we've heard the story about Jody, the pig, and we've heard all of that. I just thought that summarized it really well, just to let the audience know about where we're going from here. But one thing that we didn't talk about a lot in the last episode was the red room. I don't get why that's even important. I don't get it, but whatever. They thought it was important. And the issue is that it just wasn't on the original plan, the blueprint for the house. And it's an extra closet.
I mean, it's the people missed stuff, or people added on to houses, so it could be something like that.
But what part of that is attributed to a ghost? That's what I don't get.
The only thing I can think of is the smell. If they're saying it was a paranormal smell, which I don't know what the hell that is.
But anyway, all right. So we're gonna keep going.
One night, George heard the sound of a band playing downstairs, and when he went into the living room to investigate, there was no one there. But the rug had been rolled up and the furniture had been moved as if someone had made space for dancing.
That he would be continually going about the fireplace, checking the fire.
Fights break out between the normally loving family members. Slowly, each of their personalities begins to change. In the ensuing days, the family is subjected to a series of strange and inexplicable events. Extreme fluctuations in temperature.
So that's one that always gets me. Extreme fluctuations in temperature. I don't imagine that there's any time where I've gotten cold and said there's something scary going on. I've just always attributed it to the weather or whatever. You know?
Yeah, and I mean that wasn't exactly a new house. I mean, imagine it had a certain amount of draftiness to it, and it's winter. It's like
I'm just going to keep doing this to reiterate. These people just weren't good at making up this hoax, and it doesn't seem like their skills of making up a hoax ever really improve either. But let's keep going.
The sickening scent of old perfume. Recurring black stains on the bathroom fixtures. And an infestation of flies in the dead of
I
winter.
was down in the basement one afternoon, and there was a particular shelving area that I really wanted to relocate, and it looked like a portable. So I moved it, and much to my surprise, there was a small room behind it, and it was painted a red.
I kind of don't believe her.
Red. I don't know, man. It's just so silly. I don't really get what the point of even mentioning that as a ghost story is supposed to be. Anyway, that's just me. Please in the chat, if anybody has a different opinion, please just let us know what is scary. If you found a room in a basement,
Smelly room.
okay, smelly room. Sure, let's say it's smelly. But they didn't say what it smelled like. Maybe it smelled like that old lady's perfume.
Could be some. Yeah.
Would that scare you into believing that it had some sort of supernatural element to it, other than just saying, "Hey, look, there's a new room here"?
I would need to see like chains mounted on the walls or candle wax coming from a candelabra or some shit to be spooked out. If it's just a random room, that probably wouldn't do it.
A pegboard full of bloody hammers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, but yeah, a blank room or just an empty room with blank walls. What's funny is, if you really just dig down deep into what they're suggesting is they're trying to actually just associate the red color as somehow being evil. I mean, am I wrong about that?
No, it definitely feels like they're pitching it as an evil color.
I mean, but that's ultimately all it is, right? Like I've yet to hear what is the evil part of this room. They're just simply saying it was red. I mean, like, I can't even explain.
I can't think of a smell that I would call evil.
Exactly.
So,
what smell would you call? That's such a good point too. And you know what smell I wouldn't call evil? Perfume.
right.
They're saying that they smelled an old lady's perfume. I mean, come on. That's obviously what what George was doing. You were a Howard Stern fan, right?
No, not actually, just Opie and Anthony.
That's okay. There was a story one time told on Howard Stern show. There was a guy named Sal Governale who was just a hilarious guy, and he said that when he grew up, he was Italian, lived in New York. His father actually carried around bottles of women's perfume, and convinced his wife that he loved this woman's perfume. Where the wife even bought it for him for Christmas. And he was like, I just love it. It just smells so good. And later, one day, he realized that the whole reason he was doing it was because his girlfriend wore that perfume. And he would spray himself as camouflage so that his wife wouldn't get suspicious. And that's exactly what I think when I hear this story of her saying, oh, I smelled perfume in the room. And George Lutz just eyes getting huge. There's been other creepy stuff going on in the house.
We got ghosts and all. All of them.
All right, back to the show.
We keep calling it a room, but we don't know what else to call it. It's a very small space. The fact that it was red and that it had an odor was the disturbing part.
This red room was not in the original house plans. Who built it? Why was it hidden? Soon the Lutz's puzzlement turns to abject terror. Night after night, George is snapped awake at 3:15 a.m., the established time of the murders. While Kathy is plagued by nightmares in which she relives the horror of the DeFeo tragedy. Desperate to rid their home of the diabolical presence, the Lutzes are advised by a friend to first open all of the windows throughout the house and then go from room to room reciting the Lord's Prayer.
So, this is a weird one. I'm going to cut this off here because I'm going to intersplice it with some actual footage that the Lutzes recorded when they did this. It's new to me. I've never heard of this, but supposedly it is a ritual when trying to exorcise the house of a demon that you open all of the windows and cite the Lord's Prayer. But here we go. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that.
Did not know.
I'll open a window. You try to chase it out, Thomas.
Go on now, so now.
Here, spirit, come out the window. I'll give you 350.
Now don't go offering to sow no 351.
About tree fitted.
That wasn't real. I don't know. That was just so dumb. I don't know if that's an actual ritual, but that's exactly what it reminded me of. It's just so silly. Can you imagine having to run through your house, opening up windows for ghosts to run out of the windows?
I mean, they found their way in. They can find their way in.
That's a great point. They could use a door like everyone else.
Yeah.
Be reasonable. All right, here we go.
Desperate to rid their home of the diabolical presence, the Lutzes are advised by a friend to first open all of the windows throughout the house and then go from room to room reciting the Lord's Prayer.
Sounded like a solution to us. We did the same thing. When we did that, we heard a chorus of voices say to us, "Will you stop?" I believe that's one of the things that we did that caused the presence there to become less than happy with us.
Not until sunrise does the family dare fall asleep, unaware that their battle with the supernatural has just begun. After failing to cast the evil presence out of the house on Ocean Avenue, the Lutzes attempt to seek help from Father Ray, the Catholic priest who first came to bless the house, but find their efforts to reach him thwarted by some unknown force.
Hello, I can't hear you.
And each time I would attempt that call, that contact, we would run into interference on the phone. There were times when Father Ray would attempt to call us, and the connection again would be broken up with static.
Oh, muted.
They're in the phones now. God damn it.
I'm quick that time. They're in the phone of all
in
places.
the phone. They're stretching. I mean, even for a ghost story, this sounds like just such a stretch. I mean, they're trying so hard to come up with something that's just
So you would think they brainstorm at some point, and some of the ideas would have landed on the floor. Like they're like, nah, we got to cut this one. That's a goofy one, and they did no weeding out process. They went with every paranormal idea they had.
That's a good point. That is a very good point. I'm actually going to stop that video now because it's getting on my nerves. So that's a really good point. Yeah, they were just throwing shit at the wall, and then at some point we're like, well, let's just stick everything to the wall. There was just no, there was no filter for any of these ideas. And to me, that just is a huge, huge sign of a hoax. So the way that video ends, and I'll just go ahead and just narrate it, is that they get introduced to the Warrens by Lauren DiDio, and I wanted to just give a little bit of an intro to the Warrens. We have already talked about her, of course, but I want to give just a little bit of an intro because I liked the way that the Warrens were introduced in this documentary about them. It is only 54 seconds long, but I feel like it just says enough. So here we go.
TV station Channel 5 were determined to get the scoop.
I got in touch with George Lutz and said, your family needs help, because they were clearly terrified.
Laura called in a celebrated pair of psychic investigators based in Connecticut, Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Type of work that we do is investigation into the paranormal, the supernatural, the preternatural, from haunting phenomena caused by human spirits or through poltergeist activity or the demonic inhuman hauntings. We've worked on numerous possession cases and exorcisms, and Warner Brothers has the rights to our life.
So, what'd you get from that video, Corndiff?
She's intense. I don't know that I've ever really heard her speak before.
Yeah, she has the air of someone who is taking themselves very seriously.
Very, very. Yeah, and I didn't pick that up from the movie. She was a little more humble.
And that last line, to me, was just so telling of who we're dealing with. This person is just trying to convince you that everything they're saying is legit, but then caps it off with, by the way, I'm finally famous. And I don't know, man, that's just not a good look. And that's just not what I would want to hear someone say who's trying to convince me of something being true.
Especially, I imagine people are constantly questioning her credibility. I mean, that's not, yeah, like you said, not a good look.
Yeah, and just not something you want to hear from someone trying to convince you of something. You know, something I love to study and something I love to read about is black holes. Black holes are fascinating. Just if you read about the science of them, if you read about like all the theories behind black holes and what they do and what they accomplish, it is so mind-bending. Like it will like make you just fearful for your place on the planet. But if I were to hear, you know, Neil deGrasse Tyson say, you know, at the end of a long lecture about black holes, oh, and by the way, I sold my life story to make a movie. It would completely eliminate all the credibility of the story. That's just me. I'm not trying to speak for anyone, but as far as I'm concerned, I will have forgotten everything said before that sentence. That's just me, though.
Yeah, no, it would definitely call that into question.
Yeah, it's just so weird. Okay, so now we're going to move forward a little bit to February 24th, 1976. If we remember, it was in January that the Lutzes left the house, allegedly. We are still not clear on whether it was 10 days or 28 days that they left, because they told both of those numbers to two different publications.
10 and 28. That's a huge difference.
And 28. And then if you also remember in our last video, that the vampire hunter, Stephen Kaplan's wife, actually interviewed several of the neighbors around 112 Ocean Avenue, and she said that she got multiple accounts of people saying, I didn't know anyone moved into that house. They said that they never put curtains up, and that several of the neighbors could see through the windows of the house to see unopened boxes.
Wow.
Anyway, but, you know, hey, that's hearsay. We can't prove any of that, but that's what some people supposedly said to Miss Roxanne Vampire Hunter. So now we're going to move up just a couple of weeks, and it is now February 24th, 1976. And this is the first time the Warrens investigate the house at 112 Ocean Avenue. And we're going to hear a little bit about what happened in the investigation of the spookiness.
On February 24th, 1976, demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren, accompanied by a television news crew, investigate the abandoned Lutz home in Amityville, New York.
The first thing that struck us when we went in was that you would have thought that they were just out for the afternoon. Everything was as they left it. I mean, they weren't kidding when they said they fled the house.
The overwhelming impression as I entered the foyer of that beautiful home the first time was sadness and depression. But I was in a home where horrible tragedy had occurred.
And of course, what you do remember is that 6 people were murdered in this house. So that's enough to make things spooky.
While inspecting the basement, Ed Warren claims to have encountered a terrifying, inhuman presence.
Suddenly, it felt as though I were under a heavy waterfall, and the pressure was driving me down to the floor. And I commanded in the name of Jesus Christ, what was there to reveal its identity? There was hundreds of pinpoints of what I can only describe as electricity. I understood and knew right at that point that what we were dealing with was no ghost. This was no ordinary haunted house. This, on a scale of 1 to 10, was a 10.
All right, so we hear a little bit from Fred and Velma there, talking about what they saw that night. And again, these are things that they experienced personally, but no one else did. And
we got to take their word for it, right?
We have to take their word for it. It's exactly it. There's no objective evidence that they found. There's nothing that was experienced by anybody else, despite the fact that there were other people there. But oddly enough, the guy who has the vested interest in proving that there is, in fact, some sort of paranormal infestation here, walks in and is the victim of it, but no one else. So let me check in with you, Corndiff. Tell me a little bit about how you're feeling about all of these characters right now.
I don't know, man. Starting to feel like the story is not as magical as it once was.
It was magical?
I wanted to believe in a lot of this, and I feel like I'm slowly becoming a non-believer in this story.
Yeah. It's a bunch of nonsense. And here's the interesting thing that made me want to tell this story. And let me just let the audience know that we're not even halfway through this whole story. Actually, maybe about halfway. How is it that if we were to stop the story now, with all of the circumstantial evidence and suggestions, innuendo that we have heard from all of these people involved, how did this story grow legs so much that even the fictionalized version of the events still maintains some sort of reputation as being true?
Did they get an agent?
Oh, we're going to get there, let me tell you. But that's what's so funny is all of this happened, all of these very suspicious things, people that caught people's attention for being suspicious, caught people's attention for being, a potential hoax. It all got caught early. It got caught in 1976. Guess when the movie came out? 1979. This is 3 years before the movie came out, and people are already pointing out, hey, I think this whole thing is full of shit. But somehow this mass hysteria followed with it, and it grew. It becomes its own thing, and people want to believe it. Like you just said, you wanted to believe it. It had, it had a magic to it. It had this specialness about it where people really thought that maybe this was some sort of proof or this was some sort of evidence of something scary in the world, but it just wasn't there. It never was.
Yeah. I mean, it's a crazy, horrifying story, but in the end, it's a happy ending because they make it out. So it's like, it even has a good ending. It's just, you want to believe.
It's crazy. And again, let me just thank everyone who's here in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Everything you guys do is support to me. Just being here, watching is support. Hitting the like button is support. Sending super chats is support. Subscribing to my channel is support. And so for that, I'm very, very grateful. Thank you to everyone.
Hit the support button.
Yes, hit the support button. And I hope I'm not boring everyone with this story because it's actually about to take a really weird turn, which I think will get your interest back. So let's stick with this. And I think you know a little bit about this part, Corndiff. We're going to talk a little bit about this. Stick with me, folks. This is going to get a little spooky. But let me give you a little bit of a heads up on what we're doing. So that, if you wrote down the dates, was February 24th, 1976. And what happens is George Lutz, and this is after he's fired Stephen Kaplan, by the way. George Lutz grows fond of the Warrens. He kind of likes them. And guess what? They gave him the support, the third opinion, or, the second opinion, third party opinion, that maybe there's something spooky here. So guess what? He's now fans. He's now a fan. I don't want to say who was thinking what. We'll never know that. But I do believe that this is an instance in which we talked a little bit about with Stephen Kaplan, where he was able to drop the leading, not questions, but the leading facts. He was able to lead the investigators where he wanted them to go.
He inceptioned them.
Hey, there you go. Man, yeah, that's a very good point. Inception them. He dropped these little clues, dropped these little seeds. They picked up on them, and they're like, "Oh, you know what? This guy knows what's going on, and you know what? He's right. I'm gonna confirm it." And I got attacked by these ghosts, and why these ghosts like to shit in toilets and why they smell like ladies' perfume, I don't know, but whatever. They attack me.
I think that technique is called neuro-linguistic programming. NLP. What he's doing, the changing someone's thoughts, but planting that seed, like you were saying.
That's interesting. I've never heard that term, but I'm fascinated with more about it.
NLP. It's like it's good for social engineering too.
Neuro-linguistic. I'm going to write that down. That's good. I like that.
It's from
what you should have ended that statement with was, "And I've sold my story to Warner Brothers." There you go. We're a good team. We're a good team, you and I.
That's right.
All right. So George Lutz invites the Warrens back, but this time they come with friends. That's the funny part about this. They bring other psychics. They bring other researchers. They bring a news team. The
Warrens did?
The Warrens did. Well, you know what? Actually, maybe I'm assuming that part. All of these people go. It is a big group of people. And in fact, maybe the news team might have been the lead of it, since Laura DiDio was on part of the news team and she made the introduction. She might have been. But when it comes to coverage of these sorts of things in documentaries, the Warrens are always kind of taking the lead. So maybe I was dumb for believing that. But yes, the Warrens go, and then the Warrens bring a whole slew of people with them, including researchers, other psychics. We're going to hear from another psychic who, I don't know, man. She makes me laugh because it seems like she just tries to keep on getting her foot in the door with something dumb, and no one really cares what she has to think. And that's the impression I get. And it
like
makes me
the Jan Brady of psychics.
Yeah, exactly. Like she's like, "Oh, and you know what else I did?" And it's like, no, we don't really care what you think. That's how I took it anyway. And then I actually just did include a couple of little nuggets in here on the video. I edited the video to kind of just let everyone take a note of the things I noticed. There's one part where you're going to hear a little alarm go off because somebody says something that's just really off-putting when it comes to them trying to tell you that they know all the facts. Anyway, enough of me leading on. Let's do this.
We felt it was in our best interest never to go back in that house again. But we did go back in order to finish the research that we were doing.
At the Lutz's request, the Warrens returned to the Amityville house on the night of March 6, 1976, along with a contingent of psychics, paranormal researchers, and reporters. Among them are researcher Laura DiDio and a camera crew from New York's Channel 5 Metro Media News, who are on hand to film the investigation.
There must have been 15 or 20 people in the house that evening. We had other researchers from Duke University's very highly respected School of Parapsychology. And of course, there was myself, Marvin Scott, who was the on-camera reporter, and a couple of other reporters from radio stations. It was arranged to go in there on the night of March 6th, 1976.
Soon after the Channel 5 news team and their reporter Marvin Scott arrived at the house, people began behaving unusually.
Nothing happened to me, but
the 19-year-old intern. This is taken a little bit later. But I love her honesty. I mean, it says so much when she is surrounded by all of these people who are constantly saying what they are experiencing from a supernatural, paranormal perspective, and, you know, trying to convince the world that this happened or that happened, and I felt this. Ed Warren saying he got attacked by a bunch of ghosts that held him down and kicked him and made him eat dog poop, whatever it was he said that they made him do. And she's like, I didn't see anything. You know, and I love that. I that is what makes me think that maybe she is like the only positive person in this whole story. Is she seems to be pretty honest about most everything. And, you know, I could be saying honest only because I agree with her. Who knows? But I do just love how she's a contrarian.
No, yeah. She's, at a certain point, if she's the only one out of everyone that's not saying, at least, that they're experiencing spooky paranormal shit, then doesn't it become likely that she's just a ghost hater and she's trying to discredit the whole story?
I mean, there's an argument for anything. There's an argument for anything to be made there. But I love how she's taking a stand. Maybe that's the better word instead of just saying
definitely.
Truth. I like how she is taking a stand and saying, I wasn't convinced. There is another person we're going to hear from a little bit who similarly does that, but I don't know that his motives are as pure as hers. She didn't really have much to gain as an intern. She just, you know, as an intern, she wasn't going to take credit or blame for it. She's, you know, as a 19-year-old intern, you're not going to get any mention in the news for being a part of this. So I feel like she had like the least vested interest in this being real. And for her to just say, man, these people are all full of shit. I don't know. It seems very, very genuine and sincere. But anyway, enough of me blabbing.
things were happening to people around me.
The way people were affected was just crazy.
First thing that happened, our cameraman, Steve, got to the landing on the second floor, and all of a sudden he bent over, clutching his chest. He had stabbing chest pains.
The overwhelming impression was very sad.
I had the impression of a teenager who had done something that had changed his life entirely, and he had committed it.
That was the thing I really wanted to point out. This psychic lady is talking about how a teenager did something terrible in this house. Ronald DeFeo was 23 years old. Maybe she go ahead.
This is the one that was the Jan Brady?
That's who I think. She just keeps trying to interject stuff, and I don't feel like she's...
Meg Griffin. Yeah.
Yes, that's exact Meg Griffin. Like, I feel like they're just kind of throwing it in out of necessity. Like, all these people are telling the story, and they're like, and what do you have to say, Mary Downey? What happened to you, Mary? Jesus.
She was somehow a friend of a nephew to the producer, and this was a favor.
Exactly. And then, all right, this is your big chance to say what you think happened. A teenager did this. Oh, fuck. Yeah. Mary, come on, do some research. Jesus. It was in the papers. You know, it's so dumb. Like this is, you shouldn't get facts wrong as a psychic, you know? Or I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. You shouldn't get public facts wrong as a psychic.
Yeah, the stuff. Yeah, you should definitely have that ironed out.
And I heard that and I was like, you've got to be kidding me with this. But Meg Griffin's, yeah, that's the best comparison. It's exactly who this was. It was like, all right, Mary, what does Mary have to say? Anyway, all right, back to it.
Something horrendous.
When we went up to the second floor, of course, the psychics could feel the remnants or the bad vibes. 6 people had been murdered violently there, not 2 years before.
There was a window above me, and I saw a face of a young girl looking out at me.
No, you didn't, Mary. I feel like somebody's just thinking that off stage or off camera.
Is she the only one that's ever reported seeing the face of a young girl?
Yes, and that's another part of the story is that, another part of what I was mentioning earlier, how no one's story ever seems to really mesh well. No 2 people have the same story of what they experienced in this house. No 2 people. Everyone has a different story. And it's just annoying. Mary,
they could have tried harder.
They could have tried a lot harder. And Mary here is a piece of shit.
A little bit of coordination goes a long way when you're trying to scheme.
Yes, exactly. Hey, people don't just rob a bank the day they think about robbing a bank.
No,
they have to plan for it.
Planning and scouting it out.
Yeah. All right.
Then I heard crying, weeping. So I said, look to the white light, walk towards it, and everybody you love is waiting for you.
Lorraine.
Didn't you also total get vibes of Poltergeist from that?
Yeah.
All are welcome.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like just going from a lot of the movies that had already come out.
Yes, exactly. Borrowing or stealing, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. It's just all borrowing from movies. That's all it is. And honestly, I think that's how ghost hunting is. For my opinion, when they try to tell you that some electronic device can measure, whatever, what is it, electrons or something, but there's supposed to be some sort of device that measures electrons in the air. And I'm like, well, what scientist established that electrons are associated with ghosts?
Right. Yeah.
No one. You got that from Ghostbusters. It's so dumb. Anyway,
it's a documentary.
During the seance said that she felt like there was some evil here that was from the bowels of the earth. It murdered spirits of the dead DeFeos.
I could see bodies.
That was Lorraine who did that.
All lined up, all with white sheets over them.
I got the impression of like hooded figures like monks right outside the door, closing the door well, looking in at me. I thought, uh-oh.
I get to the top and I go into a room and Marvin Scott said to me, "What is it? What is it?" I said to him, "I hope this is as close to hell as I'll ever get."
A little dramatic.
I hate that line so much. All right, real quick, hold on. Hamhead, thank you very much. Gifted 1 Luigi Greenberg membership. Hamhead has been very supportive, very encouraging. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone. I really appreciate that. Oh, hey, look, and guess who got it? Space Chief.
Yay.
Gifted a membership by Hamhead. Space Chief rules. Fantastic artist. Please go check him out on X. Space Chief, please throw your handle in the chat and I will put that up. Fantastic artist. Makes just amazing work. And looking forward to some work he might be doing for us here. So let's talk about that. That line. What I hate about that line is how it's become iconic for Lorraine. It is not, in fact, a statement. It is just simply saying a preference that she has based on distance. And it's not any sort of conclusive statement by saying, I am near hell, I am near ghosts. It is, in fact, just saying this is as close as I want to get to wherever they are. I hate that so much because it's not a statement.
How much you hate it. But it's like she probably didn't expect people to analyze her statements this much, but no, when you do, it's there's no substance.
There's no substance to it, and it's not actually a statement, and I hate it so much. I mean, if you just think about it, like in terms of outer space, I talked about black holes earlier. Hey, you know what, Corndiff, Texas, name some city. Austin, Texas, is as close to a black hole as I ever want to get.
That's a good rule of thumb.
Thank you. I mean, it's just, I hate it. And what I hate is also, we're going to see here, she repeats it. She's proud of it. She's proud of that statement because it's somehow, she thinks it's giving her some sort of validity or confirmation that she saw a ghost.
It's as if when she said it, she was trying to read or propose it as a line for a movie poster or something. Like it's,
yeah, you're right.
Like I'm certain it was rehearsed.
Yes.
Like she had come up with this at some point and was like, all right, I got to use this.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to have to make that one. I'm going to have to make an AI video of Lorraine Newman. That's the chick from Saturday Night Live. Lorraine Warren looking into a mirror, practicing, saying, "This is as close to hell as I want to." No, that doesn't work.
This is
as close to hell as I want to. That doesn't work. I hate that line so much. And for anyone who ever heard that line and thought, oh, that means she's close to hell. I'm probably nitpicking, but it's so awful. It's just awful.
It's not good. It's very bad. Yeah.
All right.
They asked me at one point to see if we should hold a seance. I was a little bit leery about doing that. I felt I was putting myself in jeopardy.
Nothing. It's whatever's here. Whatever.
The fuck is that?
That was intense.
I just hate seeing shit like this, and I hate people buying into it. It's an act. It is an act. You were trained to do this stuff at magic school. These are all little magic campers. They went to magic camp as kids, and they learned how to do these tricks. That's all it is. And then you act a little dramatic about it, and people start to buy into it, or some do anyway. It's just.
I mean, it definitely feels like 90% of these people are con artists, and it only makes me curious about their pasts prior to all this.
Have I told you, Corndiff, how great you are at jumping off?
Not lately, but I'll take it.
Oh man, you are good. Keep that in mind. Want the audience to keep that in mind. What do their pasts hold? You know what? Actually, we're not going to get into everyone's past in this episode. Okay. But just try to remember it for maybe a few months from now when we actually start talking a little bit deeper, or I guess weeks, whatever. So once we're done here, we're going to actually follow the Warrens. We're going to at least need one more episode of the Amityville Horror, and then we're going to jump right into other hoaxes that the Warrens pulled. Probably the next one is going to be Annabelle.
Oh.
Let me give you a little preview on that one. Would you believe that the entire concept of Annabelle was taken from an episode of The Twilight Zone?
That fucking doll.
Talking Tina. The name of the episode was Living Doll. Now, here's the thing. Anyone can say, oh yeah, okay, well, that happened. That doesn't mean they're correlated. That doesn't mean they're related. That doesn't mean they stole it. Anybody could say that. So maybe it's a stretch for me to say that it was a stolen idea. But what was the name of the mom in that episode?
I think it might have been Annabelle.
Her name was Annabelle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not looking good.
Yeah. And the grifting, just there's nothing wrong with grifting, in my opinion, if you do it well. It's the people who put in, piss poor efforts at the grifting that just
they give it a bad name. Grifting.
Give it a bad name. There are some famous grifters in our world who will live on in infamy, But man, it's just sad. It's just sad. Super chat. Fantastic. Let's see what we got here. Dang Lizard. Hey, big fan, Dang Lizard. I believe that is some sort of caterpillar currency. I don't know what that is.
Fuzzy worm.
Yeah. No, thank you very much for the 10 euros, Dang Lizard. Appreciate it. This is as close as founding this show that I ever wanted to get. Just kidding. Christian Heaven sounds like hell to me. Dang Lizard, thank you very much. I couldn't have said that better myself. I appreciate it. And hey, maybe that's going to be the theme of the show. Christian Heaven sounds boring. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
That's a good one.
I'd like that. That is good. I might actually like screenshot that and frame it. All right, so back to this. This is going to be a little bit of a long video because we're going to actually hit a little bit of a point here. I think we just got another minute. Actually, I'm confusing it. Where we're going to hit a bombshell. There's going to be a bombshell here. So let's get to it.
It's here.
You're trying to harm them?
Yes, and it's something that comes at you and makes your heart speed up, that kind of thing.
Veteran.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, real descriptive.
Newscaster Marvin Scott, who covered the event for the local TV station, recalls that the night he spent in the Amityville house was anything but sensational.
Okay, real quick. I'm sorry to keep stopping this, but I do want those people who are taking notes on all of the characters to note this character, Marvin Scott. He is the reporter who accompanies the Warrens and this group of people on this night in March of 1976. Possibly the number 2 character in this story who does not seem to have any sort of malicious intent. And anyone else can make a different opinion. I just don't see it. And this guy seems like a pretty straight shooter because he seems to back up everything he has to say with some sort of fact. And I like that. I appreciate it. But again, he did have a vested interest in this being a hoax or this being, paranormal. So there's nothing really conclusively to say where he lands on it as far as his intent or his sincerity. But the guy does seem to be pretty honest because he backs everything up he says. So I would love to hear if anyone disagrees with me. This is going to be a point that I don't typically go with feelings on, but I do just get a good vibe from this guy.
During the course of the seance, one of the psychics became ill and left the room. Another complained of a pounding heart. Personally, I felt a slight chill in the back of my neck. I didn't make much of it.
That's all he had to say. It was all these people were being dramatic. They were crying. They were feeling attacked by ghosts. My neck got a little cold. And again, like I was saying earlier with Laura DiDio, when they're surrounded with all of these very dramatic stories and you take a stand that is not giving into the same tone as those other stories, that tends to lend some credibility to me, where I'm like, you know what? You're not following the crowd. You're being a contrarian. To me, there's a little bit more truth in that, especially if it's not being sensational in any way. If it's just simply saying, no, I didn't get any of that.
They're not, they're not trying to keep a spotlight on them for anything. They're just trying to say, hey, this is what this is all I saw.
Oh, that's a great way of saying it. Not trying to keep a spotlight, not trying to be remarkable in any way.
Yeah.
Just saying, no, I didn't see that. I'm like, oh, hey, I believe that guy.
And actually, they're in the position to where the spotlight is on them.
Exactly.
And they're saying, no, it's. I wish I could. It's almost like you would think they would want to say something, make something up.
That is exactly it, because they are in a position where they could keep the spotlight if they wanted it. They could extend that. They could try to draw out their fame. They could try to write a book, something, and they just say, "Meh." That's all they have to say. And I don't know. That just lends so much credibility to me. And I don't know about anybody else, but just me.
2 a.m. I remember Marvin Scott turning to me and say, "We don't have it." In other words, this was not The Exorcist for television.
Although nothing happened for the TV cameras, one photograph taken that night would later apparently reveal a mysterious presence.
The camera was set up in a tripod and it just automatically shot off a flash photograph every few moments. And there were rolls and rolls of film of this particular doorway. It was into our daughter Missy's
Lo
room.
and behold, on the second floor in the doorway of one room, there is the distinct figure of a little boy peering out from the doorway. There were no children in the house that night. So it's like, okay, where did this come from?
All right, so that's the ghost, right?
So I'm going to back this up. See if I can get a close up of it. Let's see. There you go.
There it is. Looks like a young boy.
Shit. What did I do wrong? This thing's not cooperating very well. Okay. Oh, there we go. There you go. All right. So it looks pretty creepy, right? Oh, motherfucker. Damn it.
There it is. Oh, there it is. It's close.
Hold on. All right, hold on. All right.
I can do this.
Boom. All right. There we go. Got it.
All right.
Yeah. So,
like, I feel like I can even see there's a kid wearing a plaid shirt or something, a button up. I don't know.
Okay. Let's talk about that. That's great. Okay. So you see a kid, let's be specific just for the sake of making sure that we're all on the same page here. That looks like a Caucasian child with maybe a full head of hair, with wearing a plaid shirt, maybe wearing glasses.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Because it looks like there's some weird reflection.
Could be demonized, but it could also be glasses.
You never know. Yeah. Could be demon eyes. Could be the creepy girl that they saw in the window. Could be Jody the pig.
Jody. Wearing plaid. Look at her go.
Jody the pig. Jody the pig wears plaid lesbian flannel.
Shockers.
So that is something that's, look, I'm a skeptic, but I'm going to tell you it's creepy. It's something, it looks odd. And if everyone is going to simply say that they don't know what it is, well, that definitely lends some mystery to it.
Yeah. I mean, I think weren't they saying they were all certain there was no child in the house?
Yeah.
That night.
Yeah. No child in the house. It doesn't appear to, based on the testimony we're going to hear, it doesn't look like anybody they know, and nobody can identify who it might be. I'm a skeptic, and I'm going to tell you, that creeps me out. I'd wonder. I would think there's a logical explanation, but I can't give you the logical explanation.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, There are plenty of things in my life where I've just kind of said, I don't know, and I'm never going to know. I just have to accept it. But this has captured attention because of the fact that it's just so fucking weird. It's so fucking creepy. And people want to say they see a ghost. People want to say they see, anything like that. So let's finish up and maybe we can talk a little bit about what it might be. Okay, so I just have to point out, I'm going to figure this out one day. So that time, I muted the video, not myself. I knew to not mute myself, but I muted the fucking video.
Hey, there you go. Try something different. You got to mix it up.
There we go. All right, here we go. Try it again.
There is the distinct figure of a little boy peering out from the doorway. There were no children in the house that night. So it's like, okay, where did this come from?
A demonic spirit. It can appear as anything it wants to appear as.
I'm sorry. That's just funny. to hear an old lady just saying, this old lady, psychic investigator, a ghost can do anything it wants to do. A demonic spirit can make itself anything. It chooses a little boy for camera.
Yeah.
That no one else saw. Well, then why didn't it choose to be, some sort of purple spaghetti monster?
Anything. I instantly thought Teletubby.
If I was in a house spending the night and had a camera taking random pictures and a Teletubby showed up on that picture, you better know right now all of my years of skepticism would be thrown out the window, and I would say I believe in ghosts. I believe in ghosts, and I'm here to do their bidding. I serve them. They are my master. But no. Saw somebody who looked like over a dozen, or who had the same characteristics, maybe not the specific characters, had the same characteristics as over a dozen other people that were in this house at that exact same time. That's what this demon chose to look like. Oh boy. All right, let's finish.
Not very original.
Although they insist that no children were present in the house.
Demons are known for not being very creative.
Hacks.
Yes, hacks.
When this photograph was taken, the Warrens admit that it has never been scientifically authenticated.
For the believer, no evidence is necessary. For the atheist and the skeptic, no evidence is possible. That settles it right there.
All right. Now, I have rambled on about one statement that Lorraine made that pissed me off. Now I'm going to ramble about this statement that pissed me off from Ed. What a dumb thing to say. I mean, it's just a stupid thing. It doesn't make logical sense.
But it sounds catchy. It's an attractive statement that they can publish in a quick little newspaper article. I mean, it's no one's going to look past the surface value.
Maybe, but God, what a fucking dumb thing to say.
It is a stupid statement. Yeah.
For the atheist, there's no explanation is possible. Well, dummy. You know what? Actually, we're all parts of the Dabbleverse here. That totally sounded like something John would have said with his dumb boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For the atheist, no, whatever the fuck he says. Just, boom. And people are just sitting around saying, that doesn't make any goddamn sense, dummy. So, to prove Mr. Warren wrong, there is an explanation. There actually is a very logical explanation. There's a fantastic, reasonable, scientific, reproducible explanation for what it is. All right. What I'm going to play now is a video from a from a YouTube channel called Rational Era. I have actually seen several videos trying to explain what the picture of the boy is. This one, I think, just knocks it out of the park with a very concise explanation. Now, he's actually going to be playing a video from someone else, from an actual skeptical society. And they narrate and summarize this other video where they actually explain the scientific reason or explanation for the boy. I think this one just does it best. I've heard a couple of others, but this guy actually took the time to recreate exactly what might have happened, most likely happened, I'm going to say. So I'm going to try not to interrupt this one. I'm going to try to let this one go. In fact, I'm going to actually go to the bathroom while this one plays. So here we go.
What about the ghost boy photo taken by one of the investigators while Ed and Lorraine were at the house? Well, many online have pointed out there was actually another investigator there by the name of Paul Bartz. Kenny Biddle made a video analyzing the investigator Paul Bartz and the ghost boy in the photo's appearance. Kenny made a point that their appearances don't look like they match until you realize they have the same hair part. And while the clothes don't seem to match either, that is, until you realize the film is a special infrared film stock that additionally captures different spectrums of light compared to the normal black and white film, essentially giving that photo different shades of gray.
People have been saying that this is the gentleman in the shot. And you know what? When you do it side by side like this, it really does look like him. I actually overlaid it. The similar face, especially up here, the part of the hair where the hair goes off to the side here, it's exactly the same. It matches up perfectly. And then the striped pattern for the plaid shirt matches up, but it's different color. Like this one is lighter, this one is darker. So what's going on with that? What's going on with that is that there's a difference between the earlier photos that night, which was done with regular black and white film, and then later on that night when it was set up on a timer using infrared film. So right here, there's a normal camera used up top two pictures. So this is a color photograph that I used, and I took two jackets that I have that have plaid, the plaid kind of design on it. And then I switched to black and white and took a shot. Not much difference, especially with this one on the left. But when you go to an IR converted camera, and especially when you look the upper here, the normal one, black and white, and this one, you can see how it changes from a light colored pattern, a more light colored plaid pattern, which is what the code is, to this one right here, and it becomes darker. So big difference. So when we go back to the picture of Paul Bartz next to what is probably him leaning out the doorway, we can see that yes, the reversal of this plaid shirt is just in line. It's in line with what we would expect to happen.
So, what'd you think about that?
No one after that photo came out thought to speak up and say, "Hey, this looks a lot like that one guy."
You got me, man.
Like, what the hell? Like, it looks a lot like him. The hair, especially.
I can't explain what any of these people think or say or do. I don't get it. But that's exactly what I thought was, what about the guy himself? Did he ever think that looked like him? You know?
Exactly. Yeah, he's seen the picture.
I just don't get it. And all I can think to myself is, you had psychics, you had news anchors. They just wanted a story. Maybe they thought it just was better to not tell this part of the story, to tell the full story. Maybe, I don't know. But there's just so much circumstantial evidence to suggest that so many people just wanted this to be true. It's like mass hysteria. So many people decided to put away their logic, decided to put away their reason, and just try to make this fit.
Yeah.
And
like they wanted to believe too, but then you realize, no, it seems like they had some sort of financial something to gain from it. Most of them.
They did. And I'm looking at the time now. We've been here an hour and a half. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I actually prepared what I thought was only going to take an hour and a half, but I'm only through half of it. So I'm not going to keep everyone here for another 4 hours, or whatever. So we might just have to do a fourth Amityville hoax episode. And I'm actually kind of glad, because the thing that is the most dense part of this story, I really probably should take a little bit more time to see if I can clear it up, because there's going to be just something really, really, just really fucking weird that goes on. And it's a big part of the story. It's a big part of the story.
Yeah, you can't rush it. That's why some of these, or most of these details have been kind of glazed over. for so long. It's like,
So, let's finish up with the second part of this investigation. So we're gonna finish up with the March 6th, 1976 investigation, and let's see here. So that was only half of the story, because what happens is they kind of deviate in the story when these documentaries tell the story of what happened that night. They tend to deviate with the story of the boy, which I did too, because that's probably just the best way to tell it. But more goes on that night. That wasn't even the end of the story of that night. So let's talk a little bit more about what else happened that night. In the last episode, I think that whenever there was dead air, you would sing Careless Whisper, and I like that. My little niece is 12 years old, and she plays the saxophone in her school band. And I've been trying to get her to master Careless Whisper.
And there's a lot of technique in that song. I played alto saxophone for 8 years. Yeah,
it's funny to see. It's funny to see a kid do it and not get the joke.
Right.
You know, and I'm just like, no. I want you to play this song. And she's like, why? I'm like,
you don't get it. It's going to be awesome.
Just do it. Just do it. Okay, here we go.
When the Lutz family claimed that their home in Amityville was possessed, a local TV station assembled a team of psychics and arranged to film their investigation of the house.
They got parapsychologists. They brought in some other psychics.
It was a dangerous, dangerous night during that period of time. Yes, it was very intense that night.
Did you get that? It's very
dangerous and very.
God, it makes me cringe just to think if anyone ever spoke to me this way, trying to convince me that like something crazy was happening when they're the only ones, quote unquote, seeing it and no one else in the room sees it. It's like, you see that no one else is really considering this from your perspective, right? But whatever.
You're sticking to that?
At about 3:15 a.m., a second seance is conducted in the upstairs sewing room, the area where the Warrens believe the demonic force is the strongest.
And I said, I hope this is as close to hell as I'll ever get.
Okay. I need to have some sound effects ready, and I'm going to just play like something over it so I don't have to hear her say it again. I hate it so much.
While I felt nothing, Lorraine said she felt something so horrific. She felt it was from the very bowels of the earth. Often I'm asked if I was scared.
I can't help put in a fart sound anytime I hear someone say bowels.
A palate cleanser.
And that's what needs to go over every time she says, this is as close to hell as I want to get. I'm just going to play a fart sound. That's it. That's all.
That'll work.
The night I spent in that house. Quite honestly, the night I spent watching the movie a few years later, the rowdy, pot-smoking audience was a lot more frightening than the night I spent in that house at 112 Ocean Avenue.
So, once again, this guy's great. I love it. He's just saying, they're all full of shit. I didn't see anything. They didn't convince me of anything. I don't believe what they're saying. I just think that's great. I think that's so great because he's in this pile of crazy, hippies and gypsies and whatever they were, just all trying to convince everyone else in the room of what they're seeing. And believe me, I've seen shit like this before where you get some new age crystal holding weirdos all together and they all start believing each other's nonsense within like 20 minutes. And saying how, something they'd never believed before, they suddenly believe now.
Oh yeah,
And
they feed off each other and they're super susceptible.
Exactly. And it's like crazy finds crazy, then crazy actually snowballs into crazier. And I've seen this just time and time again.
And then they write a book.
And then they write a book. And that's what's so crazy about this. So this guy's surrounded by it. Laura DiDio too. So good for them for being objective journalists. And again, of course, someone could argue that maybe they're not being objective. Maybe they just want to have this position. I don't care. I love the fact that they are, in fact, just being contrarian and saying, I know all of these people are trying to convince me that something bad happened. I'm not going to. I like that. So that shows integrity to me.
He's fighting the good fight.
Exactly.
Didn't feel any unusual presence other than the people sitting at the table. We sat around the house for several hours into the early morning hours, and we pulled up blankets. We sat on the floor. And I didn't see anything oozing the walls. I didn't hear any strange voices. The only voices I heard were that of my crew wanting to know when we were going to eat the sandwiches we brought along, and when are we getting out of here.
There's Ed and Lorraine Warren, who call themselves demonologists. They're conducting...
Okay, just real quick. Do you remember who that is? That woman talking?
I do not. I did not.
That is Mrs. Vampire Hunter.
Oh, okay.
Yes. That is Stephen Kaplan's wife, who is carrying on his legacy of being skeptical of the Warrens. Now,
oh, wow.
If I can remind everyone from the last episode, the Vampire Hunter told David Lutz, I don't believe you. I'm sorry. What did I say? Did I say David? Not David. Why did I suddenly blank on his name?
Daniel?
Anyway. Tells the Lutz family that he doesn't believe him. And out of all of the people in this crazy world, this guy who holds himself out, markets himself as a guy who hunts vampires for a living, I guess. I guess you get paid for bounties or whatever. I don't know how vampire hunting works.
Professional vampire hunter.
Professional vampire hunter is George Lutz. I don't know why I just suddenly said that, but whatever. Holds himself out as a professional vampire hunter. And when he gets told this story, he is the voice of reason to tell the world, this guy's crazy. I don't believe his story. The vampire hunter did that.
Yeah,
and
that's a twist.
It's a real twist. And then the vampire hunter passes away a few years later. And then his wife carries on the torch to try to discredit the Warrens because they suddenly just hate the Warrens because they think that they are, and I guess it's exactly what I feel too, is that they are just being absolute grifting criminals and trying to convince people of things that aren't there, don't exist, and trying to convince them to, give them money for this nonsense. And I oddly enough, I do respect the vampire hunter and his wife's efforts. They were actually trolling in a pre-internet age. We're actually going to spend a little bit of time focusing on his efforts to troll the Warrens, maybe next episode. And man, he put in some effort. He didn't always win, but he made the effort to troll the Warrens. And what's funny is, as much as people now are wise to the Warrens, he was on the inside track originator, and man, he did some funny shit. It wasn't meant to be funny, but it was basically, if they were on a TV show that would take calls, he would call in and try to challenge them. And this guy hated him. He was just like, no, it became his life work to try to discredit them. And unfortunately, he just didn't get the right audience, but he was great. God bless him. Hold on here. Got another super chat with Caterpillar money. Dang Lizard, thank you very much for the €5. Hope you'll cover the Fox sisters and how they started U.S. spiritualism. Okay, great suggestion, great topic. I've thought about the Fox sisters. What's weird is I'm trying to establish something in chronological order here, but I wanted to start with a like big explosive story, which is what I thought this was, because it has so many different elements. We're actually going to talk about the mafia
Really?
next episode.
Wow.
There are mob ties to this story. There's so many crazy parts of this story, but last episode I did spend a couple of minutes talking about how I felt like I should have spent a little bit of time on the history of debunking. And yeah, Fox Sisters is a great place to start. Spiritualism, I did briefly talk a little bit about, but it definitely could use a lot of I don't know. It could use a lot of more depth to you know, because there are some interesting parts. Then you throw in Harry Houdini. Then you throw in all magicians since Harry Houdini, James Randi, and I've thought about kind of just tracing all of that. But I don't want to bore anybody. I don't want to. I want to keep it interesting, and so hopefully the audience will let me know, and I think I can rely on them to tell me when something gets boring. But yes, Fox Sisters. Definitely gonna have to throw that one in there. And spiritualism, Arthur Conan Doyle. If you, Corndiff, don't know this, it is a fascinating dichotomy in history that Arthur Conan Doyle, if you know who that is the guy who created Sherlock Holmes.
Oh.
And Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was friends with Harry Houdini. And if anyone, you know, kind of knows just a cursory, you know, knowledge of Sherlock Holmes, he created a character that was so full of logic and reason and always looked for rational explanations. That was the whole basis of the character. But it turns out he believed in ghosts and goblins, and he actually believed in the ability to take your limbs off and then put them back on at will.
At will.
Yes, it is. He believed in some crazy, crazy things. And in fact, Arthur Conan Doyle's wife was the gasoline and match that set Harry Houdini off to begin a campaign of completely financially ruining all spiritualists in the spiritualist movement. It's an interesting story. And I thought about covering it. Maybe I still should. But it is a very, very interesting story. You know, yeah, I really should cover that. Anyway, so thank you very much, Dang Lizard. Great suggestion. I think I will take you up on that, and I will give you credit. Let's see here. Got another super chat from DJ Electra. My friend DJ Electra is wonderful. Thank you for the $5. Greatly produced show. Thank you. Did I use greatly wrong? No. Especially not in a compliment to me. You can never use any word wrong when it's a compliment to me. Thank you, DJ Electra. Please, everyone, go subscribe to her channel if you haven't already. This is Friday, and they are she and Hack Ride do a music show on Rumble. I forget who they're covering this week, but it's great. Some real great music that they can actually play over there, and it's just a really cool hang. So check them out. And also Unboxing Eric on Sundays. I think I'm on that show, but they're on it and they're great. I stink. Oh, okay. Gotta throw this one on there. Can you debunk the Jesus twins being neither Jesus nor twins? I don't know that that's true, Hack Ride. I believe the Jesus twins. You know, I've never even actually. I don't even know how they got that name. How did they get that name? Do you know, Hack Ride? How did they get the name Jesus Twins? I never got that. Also, didn't really love them on the air. I loved them for about 30 seconds, and they were just too much. But yes, we'll talk about them. Do you know who the Jesus Twins are, Corndiff? If you weren't a Howard fan, you probably don't.
No, I had to Google them, but yeah, I see it's something Stern related. So that'll be new to me for sure.
They were these. There's really no way to explain it in any way that sounds funny or interesting, but they were two very mentally ill twins who believed that they were great musicians, and when they had an opportunity to play their music for Howard, It was so awful, but they would not like let up, and they dug their feet in the grounds about how wonderful geniuses they were. And it was just really funny. And they actually had a manager. His name was Jonathan Mendelsohn. I remember that guy's name. And he would just shout about how great they were. And they came in and just made this big spectacle show, took over the show, in fact, I would say, but like universally hated, but also loved for the sideshow aspect. Anyway, sorry. I could just talk Old Stern all day, and I need to stop that. I really need to really know when to rein it in. But let's finish up with this. What happened that night?
A seance, people are look like they're going into trances, and Lorraine saying there's demons everywhere.
About 3 in the morning, Lorraine Warren and I walked upstairs to the sewing room. Now, the sewing room was the location where there was reported the strongest presence, the strongest demonic force. We sat on the floor at 3 a.m. Candle was placed in the center, and she started talking. And at one point, became a bit hysterical. Saying,
Marvin, I hope this is as close to hell as I'll ever get.
Do you have a good fart sound you could play?
Oh man, I wish I did. I've got that. But
That's a good one. I like that. Hold on. Let's see.
I need a fart soundboard. That'll work. Anything to drown her out.
But I like the fart sound. I need more farts.
We all do.
More taken by what Lorraine was expressing and sensing than what I was feeling. I felt nothing but the chill of the night in that cold sewing room, darkened except for the light flickering from the candle.
Warren at one point stated on the Warrens' official website that during the 1976 seance that she had gone in.
All right, let me just prep this, and I think this is actually a perfect place to end. This is somebody who did a little bit of research in all of the claims made from the seance that happened that night in 1976. And again, I just want to keep reiterating, this is before the book, this is before the movie. All of this was so evident to people, but still, people took it and decided to run with it and make it something that it just wasn't. It's mass hysteria. I feel like this should be studied. I feel like there's some scientist out there, like you talked about neurolinguistic, like we're talking, I take that from that title, it means brain, you know, brain words. Mm-hmm. And there's some brain scientist out there who has to look at this and just be like, what's happening? How did this get to where it got so quickly? And also, how did it linger around when there was so much evidence to suggest it wasn't real? But listen to this. Listen to what she said. Listen to what this researcher says about the claims made by Miss, I don't want to be closer to hell than where I am, Warren.
Into the master bedroom, and that the DeFeo's bed was the same bed that had been there on the night of the crime, only the mattress had been changed. And she supposedly sat on the bed and relived the whole tragic experience, the shots that were fired into the DeFeo's. But when you look at the photos from that night and you look at the bed that was present that night, it's not even remotely close to being the same bed that's in the crime scene photos. So once again, this proves that this is a complete fabrication on the part of Lorraine Warren, embellished for the sake of selling the story.
Damn it, Lorraine.
What else can be said? That's just he said it exactly right. It is an embellished story. So not only can we not trust that she experienced these invisible spiritual things that happened to her, she actually did physical things that are disproven. Like she says she did this thing of sleeping in the bed, and it turns out she didn't even do that.
I'm starting to think you can't trust these people.
and again, this is something I keep getting at, is that there is so much of this evidence. I mean, if you want to call it circumstantial evidence, or at least, all of these lies that can be proven as lies. And we could stop here. And if we stopped here, would you continue to believe that, or I'm sorry, not continue. Is there anything to suggest to you, if we stopped right here, that anything about a haunting was true?
I mean,
it's okay. It's okay if the answer is yes. It's okay.
No, other than, was there anything with the fly? Yeah, have the flies been disproven yet?
The flies haven't been disproven, and there's really not much to there's really not much to say because we don't know that it happened.
Yeah.
We don't know that it happened. No, I will say that no one who has moved into the house since the Lutzes moved out has ever reported any kind of paranormal activity, and apparently they have all been interviewed. Even the immediate family that moved in, they were the Cromarty, I believe that was her last name, Cromarty. When the immediate family moved in right after the Lutzes, sued the Lutzes because they believed that the Lutzes were responsible for all of the strangers and random people, nomadic people who would wander onto their property and scare them. And the reason they sued them was because they believed, I don't even know what happened. It doesn't really sound like it was an actual cause of action that you could sue on. Hey, you lied about a house 20 years ago and I'm going to sue you now.
We're having to deal with the fallout of that now.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened or even if it was valid, but they tried. I should say that. They tried to sue them. And the reason they tried to sue them was because they said, you lied about our house. And there was just nothing. There was nothing there. But I will tell you this. I did hear one investigator say, and I'll get the video of it if you're interested, say that if the fly thing was true, the one big possibility of what it caused was that when Ronald DeFeo murdered his family, I did skip over this part. I didn't think it was all that interesting. He left them there for 2 days before he reported it. And Ronald DeFeo was actually the one who reported the murder and tried to blame someone else. So in the 2 days that he was thinking up an excuse, they stayed in the house.
Oh, wow.
And, if you want to if you want to play logic, then that might have attracted a few flies.
Wow.
But, and whatever remnants were left over, and I don't want to get all gross about it.
I gotta say, I don't believe at this point. I don't believe this story.
I don't believe any of it.
I think I don't believe it.
and I feel like there is sufficient evidence now to suggest that nobody was telling the truth. Everyone had something to gain. Everyone had something. Trying to get it. People were being opportunistic on a level that I just haven't seen before, and I'm certain there are definitely examples of it. I just can't think of any. But they were being opportunistic on a tragedy, and it's disgusting. It's sad. It's grotesque that all these people saw a horrible tragedy and said, "I want a piece of that money pie that's going to be coming in."
But
yeah, go ahead.
And it's compared to stuff nowadays, it's tame to what people do for that.
Yeah, you're right. But it's sad. It's just so sad. Someone saw a murder, 6 murders, and said, "Ooh, this is my chance." And that's it's so just gross. It's just so gross. And then these people go on to be famous and somehow get a cult following for being altruistic, by Ed and Lorraine Warren somehow got this reputation for being these cuddly, comforting grandparents who just want to help other people. And I don't know. I don't know where that comes from, other than lack of education, lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so disturbing, and that's part of why I was so interested in telling the story. And again, maybe we are about halfway through. there is so much more and so many more lies, and people just dig these holes deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's crazy. I am going to play a little bit of a preview for the next episode, just to drop a little bit of interest for the next episode. However, I didn't cover everything I wanted to cover with this episode. So hopefully we'll get to this stuff for the next episode. But I'm going to play this for you, buddy. And then I kind of want to hear what you have to say when it's done. But it's going to be real quick. But pay attention.
The rumors through the years that the Lutzes knew you or knew your family before they ever saw the house. You're saying that there is some truth to that.
There's no rumor. They knew me.
That house isn't haunted. That house was never haunted. That was a scheme between Mr. Weber, Butch DeFeo, and George Lutz.
And who is this?
My name is Geraldine DeFeo.
And Geraldine had told me an incredible story.
I was married to Butch at the time of the murders, and yes, even before the murders, I was Mrs. DeFeo.
I love that.
He knew
what
them
did you hear?
before I saw the house.
And
it was.
And he was married.
Well, yeah, I didn't even pick up on that so much, but yeah,
you didn't get that far.
He was married? When the hell did that? Yeah, I've never heard of that either.
I'm telling you, man.
She's a fan of his either, the Butch guy.
No.
His ex-wife.
She is not. So, yes. Hopefully we're going to get to that because we didn't cover as much as I wanted to cover today. But hopefully we're going to get to that. So, yeah. Ronald DeFeo claims that he knew George and Kathy Lutz before they ever moved into the house. Now, what do we know about Ronald DeFeo, though? He is not a reliable narrator.
It's true.
He doesn't tell a lot of direct stories. He doesn't really answer a lot of questions directly.
No.
Now, we can't really take his word for it because he has no credibility. But what if him making that statement made somebody get a little curious and went digging to see if maybe there was other evidence to suggest that George and Kathy Lutz knew about the house and maybe even had a premeditated plan for all of this?
Oh, no. At this point, I don't think I would be surprised.
Yeah. So, no. Ronald DeFeo can't be believed. We've already mentioned it. We're not going to pick and choose what we believe from him because he has never told a story correctly. But from that little interview, that guy who interviewed him decided to dig just a little bit deeper and see if maybe there was anything out there that might suggest some kind of plan.
Yeah.
And he might have found it. There was something that is not conclusive, but there is something out there that could suggest that maybe there was a plan beforehand. Now, whether or not they knew each other, I'm going to just go ahead and tell you right now. No, there's no way to prove that. We can't believe him, and there's no evidence to suggest that they knew each other. But where that led to was, yes, an investigation into some possible planning. And I wanted to get to this eventually, but probably now is as good a time as any to do it. But remember the I I don't know if I actually set it aside. But do you remember when we talked about Kathy Lutz finding the red room?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, here's
the smelly one.
I put it in the wrong place. Yes, the musty one.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Dang lizard with the fuzzy bucks.
Oh, hey now. Oh, let's go ahead and... Man, dang lizard, thank you very much. Sir. I appreciate it. Dang lizard, thank you very much for the 5 years. Nowadays, nobody would try to make money off a tragedy. Let's listen to Stuttering John and how should we? It's nice. So, you know what? You got me, man. I have no comeback to that. I have nothing. I have no response to that. You're God, you're right. Yeah. So that's what got us all here. That's why I have a show. So thank you very much for the $5. I appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying it. And yeah, again, great suggestion on the Fox sisters. I'm definitely going to have to do my research on that one. Okay. So here we go. What was I doing? Oh, yeah. Okay. So remember the red room, right?
Smelly.
Yes. Let's take a look at this real quick.
My name is Patty Camarado. I was friends with Allison DeFeo, the girl who was murdered with the rest of her family here in 1974. This I'm going to show you is the mysterious red room that's so noted for in the book. This door, which they say was never here, was here, is here, always will be here, I suppose. This is the red room. Nothing more than a storage area where Allison and her brothers and I used to keep toys. Just red, you know? There's never any feeling of spirit presence or ghosts or any sort of thing like that. It's just a play area. Used to keep toys. Nothing more than that.
Doesn't sound like there was much. Oh, you're muted. Much there.
No, I haven't talked yet. I actually wasn't muted. Yeah,
mouth
that's pretty benign, right?
Yeah, it looked like a pantry with I don't know. I mean, there's these little occasionally in a house in the architecture, if it's not planned out precisely enough, you're going to have these little dead spaces like that.
It was a crawl space. That's all it was. And somehow they tried to associate evil with a little space for some extra storage is all it was. And
I mean, like you said earlier, they're throwing everything they could think of at the wall to see if it sticks.
And what's crazy is, okay, so we see what it is. You know, we actually see the space, we see the dimensions of it. And like we said earlier, Kathy Lutz doesn't even try to offer an explanation as to why it's evil. There's like an implication or suggestion that the color somehow made it evil.
It's like she says it's red, then shudders, and we're supposed to understand.
Exactly. And okay, it smelled a little. You're in a basement. It's winter. What, I mean, if you expect it to smell good, I figured that makes you crazy. But what's crazy is that begins to take on a life of its own. And if you ever saw the remake of the Amityville Horror, which came out in 2005, it's not a good movie. But what's funny is they took that concept, and again, like I'm saying about everything else, is that it's amazing to me how it just snowballs. They decide to focus on the red room, whereas the original movie didn't. Yeah. The remake was like, oh wait, there's this part of the book, there's part of the story where they found a room. Let's create a story around the room. And the story they created around the room was that it was a torture chamber. It was a torture chamber in which a man in the colonial age, like 1800s, wearing some sort of pilgrim buckle hat, is torturing Native Americans in this red room, and that there are all kinds of chains and torture devices, and occasionally you'd open the door and there'd be a person chained by their neck to the floor. And
No,
then
that
there's
was
this.
spooky.
Yeah. Okay. If I found, yes, you're right. If I found, like I said, a pegboard full of bloody hammers, I might be creeped out. If I saw
torture room,
yes, if I saw bloody chains with a head attached to them, that would creep me out.
right?
What we're seeing here is a room that is just made to hold a couple of extra boxes. And
yeah,
I don't get it. It's so funny. And there's so much implication to it. Instead of just saying, hey, here's why it's evil, all they said was, we found a room. A room.
Yeah.
Come on. I
It
mean,
doesn't
like,
seem
it's
nearly as bad as they were making it out to be.
but my point is they weren't even making it sound bad. They were just trying to imply that it was scary. They were trying to imply that it was evil without actually describing it or explaining it. It'd be like, I found a shoe. A shoe. You know, like it's
So
just
out of all the things that they say they lived through, what do you think? You think this was the one with the least amount of effort they put into the red room? It's red.
I don't know, man. That porcelain lion.
That would bite them.
Yeah, and then also what was the other one? The toilets. That's the one. The ghost shit in the toilets. That's the one where they put the least amount of effort in. And I don't.
The toilet seemed paranormal.
I don't understand how this grew, how it actually became a believable story to some people. People believed this, and it gets more and more ridiculous. It gets more and more strange. Oh, I'm sorry. And so, okay, so back to the red room, just real quick. So we have all of this mystery and I don't know what you want to call it, just, gossip or whatever, talking about this mysterious, scary, evil red room. And then a 14-year-old girl says, this is the room. I kept my toys in here.
This is kind of where we hung out and shit.
Think about that for a second. It's like, okay, I don't need the Warrens or vampire hunters to disprove this. We just had a little girl say, I kept my toys in here.
Yeah.
I wasn't. And then I think at some point she even says, there wasn't anything evil about it. It's like, you know what? That's good enough for me. I'm going to take her word for it. Were you a Simpsons fan?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you remember the Lemon Tree episode? There's this the Lemon of Troy. It's when they go to Shelbyville and steal the lemon tree. But there's this one scene where Bart puts together a team of people to steal the lemon tree, and it's Milhouse and Nelson and Ralph Wiggum.
Okay.
And they walk up to the border of Shelbyville, and he says, all right, we're crossing this line. This is where we're all going to become men. And this is where I forget what the line is. He says something about becoming men. And then they like take a deep breath and they all walk past it in this very, dignified way where they want to appreciate it. Yeah. And then the camera pans out and Lisa is flying a kite crossing the border back and forth, just going hee, hee, hee. And I'm like, I feel like that's this moment where they built up so much,
this girl shits all over.
And this little girl comes in and is like, you guys are full of shit, man. Like, I kept toys in here. I played dollies. I had my little tea parties in here. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, well, that's where we're going to end today's episode. I hope that everyone enjoyed it. And again, I just want to say thank you to everyone for the encouragement, the support. Being here just means so much to me. Thank you very much to my super chatters. Thank you very much to the gifted memberships. Thank you. And I hope that I'm delivering a good story for all of you. And if there is anything that you guys would like me to supplement with, or if you have any suggestions for how I should finish this, if you just want me to send you the video of Ronald DeFeo telling his grandfather how much fun he's having being a gay guy, I will do that too. I just didn't know how to fit it into the story, but it is just pretty funny. I sent it to you, Corndiff. You should have it.
Thank you.
So I guess that's about it. And before we go, though, is there anything that you would like to plug, buddy?
my channel on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 Eastern. Me, Granny, Chops, X Corp. We do a thing over there. So check it out if you have time. And hit like.
Yes, thank you very much. Hit like, subscribe, and please go show some support to Corndiff. He is a funny SOB. And have you done any Lego shows lately? I do love.
No, man, it's weird that you mentioned that because I was just about to run by a store and check out and see if there were any Lego sets before the show. So now it's been on my mind. I'll probably have one coming up soon.
That's great. Oh, look, hey, before we go.
Uh-oh.
Dang Lizard, thank you very much with the 5 Luigi Greenberg memberships.
Woo.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Dang Lizard.
And congrats to Bob Torres, Monster, Troll Hunter, Joe Black, and Antifa Mumbling Nick.
God, these names were so great. I love all of them. Thank you so much. Yeah, man. I would love. I'd love a new Lego show. Those are, they're just so great. I hate ASMR noises and shit. I cannot. It gives me anxiety.
Yeah.
But watching you do Legos is like my substitute for ASMR. It's great. I love it.
It's relaxing. I like it. I need to get back into it.
It is pretty cool. You know, I've told the story. If you've ever watched Unboxing Eric, I've told the story probably twice. And it's still just a very funny moment where you posted the video of the very sexy woman in lingerie doing Legos. And I was convinced, do you even remember this? I was convinced it was AI. And I made some kind of comment about her healthy jugs. And she wrote back and I was like, I thought you were AI. I am very sorry. And I felt like such an asshole. I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Sexy women doing Legos, and
they're everywhere. Yeah,
I felt like such an asshole. I was very embarrassed.
That's funny. I'm sure she didn't care at all.
No, she did not. I think she was actually took it as a compliment and she was like, "I'm very real." You know, and then promoted her channel with me, and I was like, "Oh, I don't say shit like this to women. I'm very sorry. I thought you were fake." Anyway, okay, man. Well, thank you so much for being here. You want to come back for part 3?
Yeah, hell yeah, I'd be down.
Okay, great. So I'm definitely going to be doing 4 episodes on Amityville Horror. Would love to have you back for both of those.
Yeah.
And and now we got a little bit of production value because I'm starting to figure shit out. All right. Well, thank you again, everybody, and have a great weekend, and we will see you here next time.
That's right, it sucks.